The waning weeks of the lame duck session, Congress is working on the next COVID stimulus bill as well as trying to avoid another government shutdown. Here to talk about that as well as vaccine distribution and the Biden transition are Congresswoman Robin Kelly, a Democrat representing Illinois' 2nd District, which includes parts of Chicago's far southeast side and southern suburbs. Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, a Democrat representing Illinois' 8th District, and that includes Elgin, Schaumburg, and Addison. Congressman Brad Schneider, a Democrat representing Illinois' 10th District, which covers a portion of Chicago's northern suburbs in Cook and Lake counties. And Schneider is a member of the bipartisan working group caucus on that stimulus bill. And Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia, a Democrat who represents Illinois' 4th District, and that includes parts of the northwest and southwest sides of Chicago. We invited every Republican member of the Illinois congressional delegation. None have accepted our invitation, but we do thank you all for joining us. First, Congresswoman Kelly, Illinois could get its first shipment of the Pfizer vaccine next week. How many vaccines will the state get, and how long will this rollout last?
You know, I'm not sure how many, I can't remember the number, how many the state will get, but I know that we're one of the hubs to receive the vaccine. I was speaking with Mayor Lightfoot about it today, actually, as well as New York and 2 other places.
And Congressman Krishnamoorthi, you know, there's a report that the president turned down Pfizer's early offer to sell more than that initial 100 million batch of vaccines. Is that going to hurt distribution at all?
Well, it's an unwelcome fact that we could have bought more vaccines to inoculate 330 million people. Instead, we bought about 100 million at the time. And I've called for more transparency on the deal making surrounding the COVID pandemic procurement by the Trump administration. But now we're here, and the incoming Biden administration must invoke a tool that the Trump administration repeatedly refused to do, which is the Defense Production Act. That particular tool allows the president to command the production of certain critical resources that are necessary for fighting in a crisis such as the one we're in right now. And so using that authority, hopefully we can scale up to the number of doses we need, because we got to inoculate the entire population to get past this crisis.
And that could take several months. Let's listen to what President-elect Biden said recently on the subject.
There is no detailed plan, that we've seen anyway, as to how you get the vaccine out of a container into an injection syringe into somebody's arm. And it's going to be very difficult for that to be done, and it's a very expensive proposition.
Congressman, no detail. What does that mean for the prospects of a majority of the country getting vaccinated?
Very simply is we need a supply chain control system. This is something that I've been calling on for the administration going back to February. We've seen the consequences of this throughout the summer. And that's why it's so important that we put in place, as President-elect Biden said, a process to get the vaccine from the manufacturer to the distribution center. My understanding is there's actually going to be 109,000 doses coming to Illinois in that first round, 23,000 to Chicago directly, 83,000 to a distribution center in Peoria. But it's got to go from the distribution center to the local communities, to the actual healthcare workers who can put those injections into people's arms.
And we're looking at video. I'm sorry, Congressman, so we're looking at video from an injection here. First vaccinations in the UK. Congressman Garcia, I want to move toward the 100 million compromise proposal that's been out there. Direct payments to Americans are not in that bill. Will that not make the final cut?
Hard to say. We have not seen the details of what is in the $908 billion package that is being used as a starting point in the conversations. But, you know, it's very clear that since the start of the pandemic, people have only received $1,200, while corporations got hundreds of millions, and many large companies benefited through the payroll protection program. So in Illinois, you know, we're getting ready to see potentially up to 500,000 people lose their unemployment benefits right after Christmas, and nationally about 16.5 million people could be out of a job as well, and without unemployment benefits.
Congressman Schneider, you've been part of this bipartisan problem solvers caucus to come up with this compromise. Where do the negotiations stand right now? And for what we heard from Senator McConnell is he wants to get rid of the funding for state and local governments, and then Republicans would give up the liability protections for corporations.
Right. McConnell is ignoring the fact that our state and local governments are really struggling. They're in the position of not filling positions, looking at laying off people, cutting essential services at a time where they're being expected to deliver the vaccine. We've got to support our local governments, give them the resources to take care of their residents, our constituents, in the midst of this pandemic. The light is at the end of the tunnel. We see the vaccines coming, but it's going to be a long tunnel. We need to make sure that the states have it. So we can't give up on that. We've been working on that. It was in CARES Act. There was additional funding in the HEROES Act in May, HEROES 2 in September. And here we are in December, cases spiking across the country. And Mitch McConnell wants to let essentially our communities go bankrupt, as he said before. Our states go bankrupt, and the people in those states suffer in the pandemic.
Congresswoman Kelly, do you believe there will be a final agreement on at least a narrow stimulus bill before the Biden administration takes hold?
I do. I'm an optimist, and I do believe that the problem solvers are on the right track, and they do have good things in it. You know, there is money right now for state and local government. There's money for small business, the extensions that are needed as far as the eviction moratorium. I don't think anybody, no matter where you represent, I'm not speaking to Mitch McConnell, can't speak for him, want to see people out on the streets. I mean, it's the holiday season. People don't have food. I've been to so many food distributions, and I don't think members of Congress or the Senate want to see people suffer to that degree. They know that we absolutely have to do something.
Congressman Krishnamoorthi, even if this does get passed, most economists that we've talked to on both sides of the aisle say it won't be enough to keep from an economic slide. So what would an additional stimulus under a Biden administration have to look like, and what could get passed in Congress, do you believe?
You're correct. We have about 10 million people unemployed. And in Illinois alone, our restaurants, 50% of restaurants are going to close in 6 months if they don't get additional aid. I think under an incoming Biden administration, if we can get a smaller stimulus package passed now, I think what we're going to need is again, continued unemployment benefits. We're going to need continued payroll protection program money, PPP money for small businesses, but we need direct checks to families. This is essential. We have to remember that a lot of these folks are seeing increased expenses right now at the very time that we're seeing a soft economy. For instance, a lot of people are having to take care of their children at home or figure out ways to deal with childcare expenses that they didn't anticipate because our schools are closed. So these are the types of things that we have to be very practical about right now, because we need to open up the economy, even at the same time we're vaccinating the population. And we got to get past this economic crisis. We cannot deliver a lump of coal around the holidays for the American people.
All right, and those direct checks to individuals, again, not part of the negotiation so far. We're going to have to leave it there right now. And again, we invited every Republican member of the Illinois congressional delegation. None accepted our invitation. We'll be joined again by these members of Congress a little later in the program to discuss defense, DACA, and the failure of most Republicans to recognize President-elect Biden as the election winner. But for now, our thanks to Congressman Kelly, Krishnamoorthi, Schneider, and Garcia.